Good evening and welcome to Space Oddities. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm joined tonight, as usual, by a motley crew of panelists. We've got Roger, we've got Bernard, Rachel's here, Kareem. Hi, Kareem. Bit of a late entry. How are you?
Good, you?
Yeah, fine. You feeling better?
Cough's still there, but I'm here and I'm ready. I don't have pregnancy brain, so I think I have no excuse for being completely sideways.
And over there in Shropshire, we say a very good evening to Daz. How are you, Daz?
Well, I'm fine, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can. I just froze for a second. Yeah, everything's good. Everyone's fine and out there in YouTube land.
Fantastic. Glad to hear it. Well, thank you for joining us, viewers. We've got the usual mix of stuff coming up for you this evening. Kareem, have you got one of your wonderful constellation stories for us tonight?
I do.
Fantastic. Ooh. So we'll have another constellation tale from Kareem. Bernard's going to be telling us about the upcoming JUICE mission from the European Space Agency, which we're all thoroughly excited about. So that's exciting. Rachel will have quite a large, I believe there's quite a large viewers gallery tonight. Is there not, Rachel?
Yeah, bumper pack week.
Bumper pack, fantastic. And of course, Roger will be guiding us through the night sky. If it's your first time here, you're more than welcome. We are Space Oddities. We're here every Monday evening from 8 o'clock UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And you are more than welcome. And you could do us a big favor by hitting that subscribe button and liking what we do and turning on your notifications, because it helps us a lot. Also, we would like to give a big thanks to our sponsor, Rother Valley Optics, who support us in what we endeavor to do. So thank you for that, guys. So if you need any telescope equipment or binoculars or anything optical, Rother Valley Optics are the guys to go to. So we'll make a start. Roger, what's up in the night sky? That's what we are all dying to know.
Oh, well, it's like this. And here we go. For the week 13th to the 19th of February. So watch out tomorrow, it's Valentine's Day.
Don't say that. Don't mention that.
Oh, so it doesn't say that.
Too late.
Anyway, for Valentine's Day tomorrow, there's a third quarter moon and obviously thinning to a new moon in the early part of next week. This was the last picture of the moon that I got the other night. So it's been a bit cloudy, shock horror, not normal, but there we go.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So this is the sunspots from days ago. I've put this in because I've got some closer up views of those sunspots. And I was thinking maybe from the other week when we had that absolutely huge sunspot, whether sunspot 3217 and 3220 are part of what was that sunspot from 2 weeks ago. But you never know.
You never know. There's still a lot of activity there.
Yeah, but this is what it's currently looking at from earlier today. So still a reasonable bit of activity on there. There's lots of little sunspots and faculae around the limbs there. So that's good.
You've captured the faculae very clearly there, Roger. They're wonderful.
I've got a good technique going on.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at the sun today, and of course it's the same as yours. But what I was fascinated by is if you look sort of like around the equator and just below it, next to the two big dots on the just left of the center, you can see all these small black dots, all these and up at the top as well. Yeah, so there's lots of activity going on. They're large and small. So yeah, it's a really lovely image. Yeah, that's great.
That's fantastic.
I'm just waiting to get my quark to do more of the prominences and stuff. But that's for another month. Right. Okay. So at the moment, we've still got a reasonable bit of activity from the comet, which is heading down through Taurus. It was right up, coming adjacent to Mars at the weekend, is now coming down through Taurus and heading down into Orion. And these are the dates for the next week of Comet ZTF. And here's another picture that I've got of it. This one's got a bit of the ion tail, which seems to have split further up the tail there. So
yeah,
that's all I can manage, I'm afraid.
That's wonderful.
It's just a single frame of the comet.
Wow.
Now, this I took not less than an hour ago, which shows the position of the comet, which I've marked there, between Mars and Aldebaran. And I've got the Pleiades there as well. So if you want to go out and look for it with the binoculars, here is tonight's position of that comet.
Wonderful.
Oh, that's very useful, Roger, because I was planning to go out tonight. I still haven't seen this comet because of clouds and time schedule, and so I was planning to do it tonight. So now I'm trying to ingrain this in my head so that when I go out in the night sky, I'll be able to find it very quickly. That's very useful, Roger. Thank you.
So just need to head up towards Mars from Aldebaran, and you should see the fuzzy green comet.
Yeah, and the next 2 nights is close to Aldebaran anyway, isn't it? So it'll be easy.
Yes, even closer. So clear skies allow, we should get some more interesting pictures.
And I think that photo does illustrate as well that it's not a big comet. It's actually quite a small object in the sky.
Yeah. I mean, it's showing the comet's tail in that picture roughly the same brightness as the nebulosity around in the Pleiades there.
Yeah,
with the camera sensitivity anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So gives you an idea. Right, so here we are in the night sky with the Orion as of 10 o'clock through this week. It's now on its way past into the southwest now, but it's still of a reasonable height, although it is getting somewhat smaller now. It's only about 10 arc seconds in diameter now, unfortunately. So we're getting up towards galaxy season, with Leo coming up quite nicely, with Virgo following up behind with more interesting objects. So that should be of interest.
Absolutely. Jupiter's still quite prominent in the sky, though, isn't it?
It's showing quite nicely after sunset with Venus. So those make quite a good, interesting picture after sunset.
Yes, I did get a photo of the two of them the other night, and in the twilight, and it was really nice.
Yeah, it's quite a nice object to look at, and as we can see, we're gradually heading towards the setting of the other planets now, and Orion, unfortunately. But there'll be more information about that. Right, I don't have any other information from the James Webb as of yet, so no interesting objects that I'm aware of that I can share tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. As always, Roger, an invaluable guide to the night sky, as always. Well, last week, our very own Mary McIntyre hosted a Space Oddities sketching workshop. And the event was a great success. Mary was teaching people from all over the world how to do some astro sketching, and in particular lunar sketching and sketches of the Orion Nebula and the Sun. And we are very pleased to announce that it went off really well. So I've got some examples here of some of the sketches that were done. These are sketches that were done of the Archimedes crater, which I think you'll agree they've got some very nice work there. That's the Archimedes crater on the moon, of course. And then these are some of the sketches of the Orion Nebula that the attendees sketched. And these are some of the sun sketches that people did. And in addition, just to take a sample of the Archimedes sketches. This one is from Nick Spencer. A fantastic effort there, Nick, if you're watching. And this one by Simon Miniken and of Archimedes. And again, lovely work, fantastic sketching going on here. And there's one by Carol Bota, or both. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, Carol. And again, a lovely sketch. So I think it was a great success. You were actually there, Daz. So how many people were there in the end, online with Mary?
We ended up with I think there was about 22 in the end. I think
22.
some people got a bit confused with the timings. We
Right.
had just about 30 people who had subscribed, but I did
Right.
notice that towards the end, people were trying to come in sort of like an hour after we started. I think they got their timings a little bit mixed up, which is a shame. But it has been posted on YouTube under the Space Oddities banner. So if anybody would like to give it a go, you can just follow along. I mean, Mary was very precise. Everybody enjoyed it. A lot of people surprised themselves with how well they actually did. They were all, amazed. And Mary explains it so simply, and all the techniques and all that of blending and or even just scraping the charcoal and then rubbing it in with a cotton bud. It was absolutely fantastic, and everybody enjoyed themselves. There were quite a lot of them were quite, as you seen, they're quite eager to put their images up. So, and of course, Roger actually followed on this weekend and did exactly the same. So, which we may see a bit later. And
Yes.
yes,
And here's
it's in the gallery. It's in the gallery. But with the difference with Rogers is Mary's is, I mean that's Lee's effort.
Lee as well. Yeah.
It was really fantastic.
Really good.
They did. Sorry, they did. They did. They did crate. Sorry, I'm stuck. My record's stuck.
Not for the first time.
They did a crater. They also did sunspots.
Right.
And
they did.
Yeah, I'm getting an echo, Andy. I don't know what's happening.
Okay, I don't know why that is.
Yeah, we're all getting a bad echo.
Okay, is it better now?
Let's see. Yeah, no more echoes.
Yes, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, right.
It's using the two screens again, isn't it?
Yes, probably.
But yeah, so yeah, it was a great night. Everybody enjoyed themselves. Mary's been out and about again doing her workshop. And if you fancy giving it a go, with the ones we did, all you need is just a piece of printing paper, and standard pencil, a cotton bud, and a razor, and just take it from there and just follow what Mary does, and you'll be surprised at how well you get on. And it was a fun night. We had a lot of time. We had a chat at the end with everybody, and it was good. It was good. Anyway, yeah, we'll look forward to Rogers later.
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much. And if viewers, you would like to take part in another sketching workshop here at Space Oddities with Mary, put it in the chat that you'd like to take part, or if you know somebody that might like to do it, put that in the chat as well, because we are, very keen to do these things for you. So if you'd like to take part in a sketching workshop and you didn't do it last week, just put it in the chat. And if we have enough interest, then I'm sure Mary will run another one, because it was a great success. And Mary did demonstrate yet again, even if people think they have no artistic ability whatsoever, Mary always proves them wrong and manages to bring that artistic talent, like Roger, for example, exactly like Roger. And you'll be seeing Roger's work later, as Daz said. And it's surprising how many people do have artistic talent, even if they're firmly convinced that they do not. So
that was after 50 years of not drawing anything.
Well, that's pretty good. You see,
you've having a problem drawing the blinds, let alone anything else.
You've been hiding your lamp under a bushel, as they say, Roger.
Oh, right.
So I've no idea.
Well, I could always do it while there's some cloudy skies in Spartford, so that won't be very often then.
Well, you can draw other things, I'm sure. I mean, you could do a bit of wildlife drawing, couldn't you? Birds and things, perhaps. No, not interested. Okay. No, I understand. Okay. So anyway, that was the workshop. Great success. If you'd like us to do another one, put it in the chat or in the comments after the show. And don't forget, if this is your first time here, to be notified of anything that we do, including these workshops. Do subscribe to the channel and click the notification icon so that you're kept aware of exactly what's going on. Right then, moving on, we're going to come to Bernard. Now, Europe is mounting a really interesting space mission in April. And Bernard, would you like to tell us what's going on and how it's going?
Yeah, absolutely, sure. Now, guys, I never tire myself from saying we live in a golden age, and it seems like not a year or not 6 months goes by that another planetary mission is being launched into space by another agency to go and explore a solar system. And may I remind you that this is probably not the norm for for many decades, and it's just absolutely amazing and exciting. So yes. So we've been mentioning quite a lot on this channel about JUICE mission coming up, going to be launched soon. Andy, can you put my presentation, please?
Yes, I certainly will. Just give me one
Thank you.
second.
I'm just going to do a quick recap on JUICE and where we are now with regards to the mission status. So as a reminder, JUICE is a European Space Agency's flagship mission to go and to the outer solar system. That's going to be the first time for the European Space Agency. And to go and explore the icy moons. JUICE stands for Jupiter Icy Moons Explorers, or the icy moons of Jupiter. And let me just quickly move my slide. Here we go. So we all have in mind the 4 Galilean moons, the 4 biggest moons of Jupiter. And apart from Io, which of course is very fiery and full of volcanoes, we have 3 moons which are made of ice, water, and rocks. Well, sorry, let me repeat that. Made of solid ice, liquid water, and rock, and of course those are Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, which we can label as ocean worlds. And JUICE's mission, of course, is going to go and do some flybys of some of these moons of Europa and Callisto, but more importantly, it's going to be orbiting Ganymede for quite some time, and it's going to be exploring these moons. Exciting time, folks. So here are the milestones. So JUICE arrived in French Guiana. So at the bottom left there, you see the big Antonov airplane. I'm going to show you some pictures of it. It arrived a few days ago, 3 days ago. It arrived at French Guiana, so that was from the Toulouse base in France, and then now it's being prepared for launch. It's expected to launch in April. I will give you the exact new estimate launch dates at the end of this talk. And then it's going to do 1 lunar flyby, it's going to do a Venus flyby, it's going to do another Earth flyby, and another flyby, and then it's going to arrive only in Jupiter in 2031 for a round of 3 years of observations of these Galilean moons. Just a very quick catch up. It's going to do 2 flybys of Europa, 12 flybys of Ganymede, and of course, it's going to be orbiting Ganymede, and 21 flybys of Callisto. So really looking forward to that. It's going to have lots of. It has 10 instruments. We'll be able to go further into detail into these instruments during another presentation. I think when we'll go into a bit more detail on that. But it has laser altimeter and radars to penetrate through the ice, and UV imaging spectrometer and magnetometer. I mean, it's a flagship mission, so it's got everything in the kitchen sink of it. Here's an interesting picture. I haven't seen this one before, but it just puts into context the size of this satellite. It doesn't look that big when you look at the pictures, but now when you see you can see like the proportions of a normal normal person there. It's quite a significant mission. It really is. It really is the size of a flagship mission. It is, isn't it?
Yes, I hadn't realised it was that big.
No, me neither. And I've been writing about this mission for for so long, and somehow, we never unfortunately get to go and meet and greet the probe.
No,
So
absolutely. Or
so from
it could be that that's just a very, very, very tiny person.
Or it could be, or it could just be that it might be an erroneous picture, and I do apologize to viewers for that. No, it's fine, but yeah, it's a big spacecraft, guys. So it arrived at French Guiana, as I said, on 10th of February with this very big Ukrainian-built Antonov. Super exciting, and they were tracking and monitoring the temperature and the atmospheric just various atmospheric measurements of inside that big box, and everything went well. Everything was super nominal. And then today they unveiled the opening and the taking out of this amazing spacecraft.
Wow!
And here it is.
Now you see the size. Yes, look at that.
Here it is in all its glory. So the next steps, of course, is going to be mission preparation for the next 2 months until the launch with the new estimated date of the 13th of April. So only 2 months left before this mission gets launched, and that's definitely something we're going to be viewing live. And we're going to be mentioning about this mission in the coming months, because we're going to get some more feedback and some more news on this as the mission goes on. But so far, so good. Let's cross our fingers. Everyone seems very positive. Everything is nominal. There's been no issues whatsoever. It's smooth sailing so far. So yeah, there we go.
It's also a bittersweet event for the Ariane 5, isn't it? Because isn't it one of the very last missions of the Ariane 5?
Yes, absolutely. With Ariane 6 supposed to come over and replace Ariane 5, albeit there are, of course, some delays with the Ariane 6 maiden launch.
Yes.
But yes, that is correct. It's the last flight of Ariane 5, which, let's not forget, is one of the most reliable space launchers ever. So, yeah, I'm not trying to jinx this mission.
No.
But there we go. I mean, it's really exciting just to see, on Twitter, these images of of the teams there in Kourou starting to unpack the JUICE mission and prepare it for its launch. It's just fantastic to see these.
Yeah, because if you remember the very first flight of the Ariane 5 was a disaster.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Because somebody had used some old code from the Ariane 4. And the numbers that they were trying to process with the code didn't fit into the old code for the Ariane 4. It wasn't able to handle such large numbers, and the rocket got confused as to where it was, and just basically tore itself apart trying to correct it. And who would have guessed then that it would have ended up, an incredibly reliable launcher, which it has been.
I blame the IT folks for the failure.
It's definitely an IT issue.
Yeah.
But this is something you should never do. I mean, if you want to take an analogy, if you're releasing a new version of Windows, you don't use code from Windows 95, for example, because you could have disastrous results, which is exactly what happened with Ariane. So the lesson was learned, I guess.
Yeah. So for those of our viewers, this was a sort of an inside joke because Andy works in IT. So I was having a stab at him.
It's all to do with floating point arithmetic and unsigned integer numbers. So all that lovely stuff.
Yep. So anyway, guys, JUICE is it's moving along smoothly, and it's just great to see.
What would you like to see from the mission, Bernard? If you had the choice, what would be the big discovery that you would get absolutely mad about?
You know what? We talk a lot about Europa, and rightly so. But Ganymede has a lot of secrets to uncover. Ganymede, it has had geological activity in the past, and we see that on the surface. I wouldn't be surprised if the pictures are going to show maybe, in geological terms, some more recent activities. Who knows? But yeah. Ganymede, and I'm very biased towards Callisto for some reason. It's one of my favorite moons in our solar system.
Really?
So, yeah,
It-
I really love. And no, it's not for any reason. The reason why it's one of my favorite moons is that it's one of the places that we believe we would be able to set up a human base there if in the outer solar system. It has everything going for it. So yeah. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm just excited about Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. To be honest, anything
I'm-
coming out of there will be good.
I'm excited about all of it, but you're right about Ganymede. Ganymede for me is an exceptionally mysterious moon because Juno's flyby of Ganymede not so long ago really raised a lot of questions, and I think made planetary scientists understand that they don't really know that much about it. So it's a bit of a mysterious moon. But I think for me, if Jews can finally answer the question about how thick the ice is on Europa, and thus how easy it would be to drop a submarine into the ocean underneath Europa's icy cap, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, totally. It has the ice penetrating radar, the RIME, which is definitely going to do that. And let's just say that we have the Clipper coming along soon. That's NASA's flagship mission to Europa. So Europa is going to be very well covered. And let's not forget that JUICE will be orbiting Ganymede for 9 months, and it's going to make its closest approach, of the surface within a few hundred kilometers. I think the last time I read was like 500 kilometers, which from a space mission point of view is extremely close to the surface. So it's going to uncover so much of this amazing moon.
Yeah.
Bernard, one question. I see Pete in our audience, and a lot of us have enjoyed Pete's image processing from JunoCam, especially of Ganymede when Juno did its first really nice close pass. Do you know if JUICE is going to have a public camera similar to what Juno had and Galileo before it?
No. JUICE has a Janus, which is I'm actually reading from my book because I can't remember all these acronyms. Janus, which is the narrow and wide angle camera. So that's clearly a scientifically supported camera.
So hopefully that'll be public source.
Well, yes. I mean, obviously, the images there will. I don't know the strategy ESA has in relation to how they're going to treat and and release the images to the public. But it's definitely going to be. It's not going to be. I would presume as. I don't think there's going to be such a civic science strategy behind it, just because this is going to be this is really embedded within the program itself. So they're going to have image specialists that are going to be there and analyzing the pictures and processing them first before releasing them to the public. But I don't know. I really don't know. I would hope that they are going to be able to release the images and let the public play with them as well. I think that would be great. It's a good point.
Let us know when Roger, Rachel, and I can apply.
Well, you know what? I spoke recently to someone who was an image specialist for Curiosity and Perseverance, and it's incredibly hard work. It's very, very, very hard work, and I'm not sure if I would ever have the chance of doing something like that. I'm not sure if I would be able to do it because what he described was it's hard work. But space is hard. Space exploration is hard. Looking forward to the pictures. So.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, thank you very much for that, Bernard. We all keep our fingers crossed for a safe launch, as always, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we will move on now, and I'm going to put my Reginald Bosanquet hat on now, and say it's time for the news. So let's go straight over to the news. And quite a lot of news this week. So what's been going on? So first of all, in the news, we covered this event live on Space Oddities last week. It was, of course, the much vaunted static fire test of SpaceX and its massive super heavy booster. SpaceX has successfully completed an historic static fire test of its Falcon Super Heavy booster 31 engines out of 33 fired successfully, which would still have been enough to reach orbit after a launch. The next step for the most powerful record ever built could well be its first attempt to reach orbit, perhaps next month. Damage to the orbital launch mount and surrounding installations seemed to be minimal after the test. Many had feared the sheer unrivaled power of the 33 Raptor engines would cause extensive damage. Ultimately, however, the next step depends on the Federal Aviation Administration, who, because of the failure of the two engines in the test, may require SpaceX to perform another static fire before they will grant the license for the orbital flight. So we're looking forward to that. Although there's a lot of activity going on at Starbase at the moment that would seem to indicate that they're not going to fire the current configuration of Booster 7 and Ship 24 after all. They've just moved Ship 26 to the launch platform. So we're not quite sure what's going on there, to be quite honest. And here's a video of the thing itself. Immense power of 33 or 31 Raptor engines. So some fantastic views there of the static fire from SpaceX. There's news that astronomers have discovered a potentially habitable exoplanet only 31 light years from the Earth. In a new study, a team of 50 astronomers from around the world have confirmed the existence of exoplanet Wolf 1069b, which orbits a red dwarf star, Wolf 1069, only 31 light years from the Earth. What makes this discovery particularly intriguing is that Wolf 1069b is potentially a rocky world at about 1.26 times the mass of Earth and 1.08 times its size, so it's almost exactly identical to the Earth. Wolf 1069b also orbits in its star's habitable zone, making it a prime candidate for liquid water to potentially exist on its surface. And it's quite rare that we're discovering worlds that are about the same size and mass of the Earth and are in the habitable zone, which might indicate liquid water, which therefore might indicate life. So the next event that's happened is Blue Origin have actually won their first NASA contract for their New Glenn rocket, and they've been selected to launch a pair of Martian small sats towards Mars. NASA announced on February the 9th that it selected New Glenn for the launch of the two. And here's a lovely acronym for you: the Escape and Plasma Acceleration and Dynamics Explorers, which they managed to get into Escapade spacecraft in late 2024. And these spacecraft are going to go into orbit around Mars 11 months later. It's the first award NASA has issued for New Glenn, the large rocket Blue Origin has been working on for several years but has yet to launch. Blue Origin has previously won business from several commercial customers, including Amazon, for their Copernicus satellite internet constellation that they are putting up. We should note that Blue Origin have never launched anything into orbit before. They've been in business longer than SpaceX for more than 20 years, and they've yet to get anything into orbit. And the most we've seen of this mythical New Glenn rocket is a mock-up of the first stage and half a fairing. So they're meant to have all this finished by the end of this year, and so far there's been no sign of it at all. So we have to hope that they do it.
And
so that's sorry.
I have a question. Whoa, I'm getting an echo again. I have a question on that. Okay,
sorry,
okay,
let me just go back.
Sorry, folks, we're having technical issues here.
Go on.
No, I'm getting really bad echoes. I'll ask a question afterwards.
Okay.
Carry on.
Virgin are narrowing down the cause of their Launcher 1 failure. You remember the first space mission launch from the UK failed ultimately with the Launcher 1 rocket failing to get into orbit. And they think it was due to the failure of an inexpensive part. Speaking on a panel at the Small Sat Symposium in Mountain View, California, Dan Hart of Virgin Orbit said that it was still premature to formally declare what the problem was, But while the investigation continues, the evidence was pointing to a cheap component in the rocket's second stage engine. Everything points to right now a filter that was clearly there when we assembled the rocket, but was not there as the second stage engine started, meaning it was dislodged and caused mischief downstream. So that was the apparent cause of the failure of that first launch out of the Cornwall spaceport. Of course, everybody was immensely disappointed about all that. Just an inexpensive component that failed. So anyway, I suppose the lesson will be learned for the next one. Somebody has come up with an explanation for the incredible canyons on Pluto's large moon Charon. In 2015, when NASA's New Horizons spacecraft encountered the Pluto-Charon system, the US's Southwestern Research Institute, and they're the people that managed the mission, they discovered interesting geologically active objects instead of the icy worlds that they had expected. And they've revisited the New Horizons data to explore the source of cryovolcanic flows and an obvious belt of fractures on Pluto's large moon Charon. And I think you can see from the image there those immense canyons going across the face of Charon. And what they think is that Charon had a liquid underground ocean at one point, but it froze. And this caused the crust of Charon to literally crack like an egg. And it was less likely to lead to cryovolcanoes erupting with ice, water, and other materials in its northern hemisphere. So we don't see those, but we do see these enormous canyons. And a combination of geological interpretations and thermal orbit evolution models implies that Charon had a subsurface liquid ocean that eventually froze, said the Southwestern Research Institute's Dr. Elise Roden, a specialist in the geophysics of icy satellites, particularly those containing oceans, and the evolution of giant planet satellite systems. She authored a new paper on the source of Charon's surface features in the journal Icarus. And there's another step forward for Europe. European astronauts could walk on the moon for the first time in the coming years in exchange for the continent taking on a key role in an ambitious NASA space program. The US Space Agency's Artemis program aims to return humans to the moon for the first time since the historic Apollo missions, which ended in 1972. For the first time, the European Space Agency and European aerospace giant Airbus have been entrusted with supplying vital service modules for NASA's Orion spacecraft. In exchange, Europe has 3 guaranteed seats on the mission's flights, probably from 2027, although discussions are ongoing to try and get earlier spots. The role of Europeans is vital. They are providing half of the spacecraft that will take people to the moon and, of course, back to Earth safely, said Mark Steckling, Airbus's head of space exploration. Hubble has captured the start of a new spoke season on Saturn. New images of Saturn from NASA's Hubble Space Telescope herald the start of the planet's spoke season surrounding its equinox, when enigmatic dark features called spokes appear across its rings, as you can see in the image. The cause of the spokes, as well as their seasonal variability, has yet to be fully explained by planetary scientists. An equinox occurs when the rings are tilted edge-on to the sun. The spokes disappear when it is near summer or winter solstice on Saturn, i.e. when the sun appears to reach either its highest or lowest latitude in the northern or southern hemisphere of a planet. As the autumnal equinox of Saturn's northern hemisphere on May the 6th, 2025 draws near, the spokes are expected to become increasingly prominent and observable. The suspected culprit for the spokes is the planet's variable magnetic field. Planetary magnetic fields interact with the solar wind, creating an electrically charged environment, and the same phenomenon causes Earth's aurorae, of course, this interaction of the magnetic field of the Earth with the solar wind. Scientists think that the smallest dust-sized icy ring particles can become charged as well, which temporarily levitates them above the rest of the larger icy particles and boulders in the rings. And these were first seen by the Voyager spacecraft in the 1980s. And nobody's ever known what they were. And now it looks like it's this interaction, the magnetic field with the sun, which levitates some of the smaller particles above the rest of the rings. Certainly looks spooky. That's definitely the world's largest radio telescope has scanned 33 exoplanets for extraterrestrial signals. And that image, as you may know, is the Chinese FAST radio telescope, which is currently the biggest radio telescope on the planet. And they've all, as well as its regular astronomical and astrophysical work, they've always planned to use it in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, or SETI. Integral to this field of study is the search for technosignatures, signs of technological activity that indicate the presence of an advanced civilization. While many potential technosignatures have been proposed since the first surveys began in the 1960s, radio transmissions are still considered the most likely and remain the most studied. In a recent survey, an international team of SETI researchers conducted a targeted search of 33 exoplanet systems using a new method they call the MBCM blind search mode, whatever that is. While the team detected 2 special signals using this mode, they've attributed them to terrestrial radio interference. Nevertheless, their survey demonstrated the effectiveness of this new blind mode, which could lead to plausible candidate signals in the future. And the James Webb Space Telescope has seen the first phase of star formation in distant galaxies. Thanks to the JWST and its first images of galaxy clusters, researchers have for the very first time been able to examine very compact structures of star clusters inside galaxies, so-called clumps. In a paper published in the monthly notices of the Royal Astronomical Society, researchers from Stockholm University have studied the first phase of star formation in distant galaxies. The galaxy clusters we examined are so massive that they bend light rays passing through their center, as predicted by Einstein in 1915. And this in turn produces a kind of magnifying glass effect. The images of background galaxies are magnified, explained Adelaide Claessens, Department of Astronomy, Stockholm University, one of the lead authors of the study. The magnifying glass effect, together with the resolution of the James Webb Space Telescope, made it possible for the researchers to detect stellar clumps, very compact galaxy structures. These observations allowed the researchers to study the link between clump formation and evolution and galaxy growth a few million years after the Big Bang in a way that has not been possible before. And the James Webb Telescope, as we know, continues to turn up real surprises and is enabling astronomers and cosmologists to study the early universe in ways that just have not been possible before. And Ireland's first satellite has run into launch problems, unfortunately. AirSat-1 was to have been launched later this year on a rocket from French Guiana, from the ESA launch facility there that Bernard was talking about earlier, on the northeast coast of South America. But last December, a Vega C rocket of the same type as that planned for use by AirSat-1 developed problems and failed to reach its 700-kilometer orbit, and failed also, therefore, to deliver its payload of Earth observation satellites after it launched from French Guiana. Professor Lorraine Hanlon, director of the UCD Centre for Space Research, said the team at UCD were extremely disappointed by the setback, which means a significant delay to the launch of the Irish satellite. Professor Hanlon said the scientific community felt deeply sorry for the Vega C team, its customer Airbus Defence and Space, and all those who worked on satellites which have been lost. There is a reason rocket science has its reputation, she said, of the complexities involved in launching satellites. It's a big deal when something goes wrong. And, commiserations to the Irish, because, this Ireland's first satellite has been much anticipated. And it's just unfortunate that the delay has been nothing to do with the Irish team, but is caused by the failure of the Vega C. And until that investigation is completed and any problems rectified, it will be delayed, unfortunately. But we will, of course, keep you informed of all future developments with Ireland's first satellite. So there you have the news for this week.
Wow, that was you've unpacked a lot of stuff there, Andy. Well done.
Yeah, that's this is an average news week. It's a question these days of what not to include rather than what to include. Otherwise, we'd be here all night. So it's a very, very active week. You were going to ask a question earlier, Bernard.
Yeah, actually, I want to ask 10 new questions now after you presented everything. My question was related to NASA selecting Blue Origin. even though, as you mentioned, they still haven't put anything into orbit or whatnot. Is this maybe a situation where NASA's trying to not put all their eggs in one basket and trying to support other competitors in order to make the marketplace of private launchers more competitive? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, Daz and I have talked for extensive periods about this, and I think we're of the same mind on this, aren't we, Daz? Go on, Daz.
Yes, it has. Well, like Bernard just said, putting their eggs all in one basket, but there isn't a basket. The new Glen is mythical. We've only seen some mock-ups of some of the stages so far. It's also, again, it's like the SLS, so far behind, over budget, and it's something I can't get my head around. Why Blue Origin is getting all these major contracts from NASA and other people for these big missions, and they've never actually put anything in space. The only thing that they've achieved is putting some tourists into not even low Earth orbit. They're just taking them up to the Kármán line and then back down again. And to appreciate that, you have to be very rich. And it's something I can't see the business sense. I can't see the logic behind any of this when they're talking about using Blue Origin for this, that, and the other. The new what is it? The Vulcan Centaur, which hopefully will be launching later this month, is years behind schedule because it was Blue Origins that were providing the BE4 engines for it. But it took them so long to get it that the Vulcan Centaur has lost contracts all over the place. And it just seems very strange. I don't understand this this Blue Origins thing. That's my own personal response, but maybe somebody else can enlighten me why this is happening and why. I don't understand that. I really can't understand them doing this. I've got my own opinion, but it's best not to say it because I don't want lawsuits landing on my
Just suffice to say, we
Thanks.
all know what greases the wheels of American industry. So,
But
you
thanks
see,
for that. Thanks for that response, guys.
my view, Bernard, is yes, if you're going to open up competition, fine. But you choose a company that actually has proved that they can do it, that has the facilities to do it. And Blue Origin haven't even got a rocket that works yet, that nobody's ever seen. And yet NASA are throwing contracts on them, throwing contracts at them. It really doesn't make any sense to me at all. It really doesn't. And, you could say, but on the other hand, they've given SpaceX the job of building the lunar variant of the Starship to land people on the moon. And that's not built yet. Yes, but at least SpaceX have got a track record of always doing what they say they will, which they've never, ever failed at, and and are the world's leading company in terms of getting things into orbit. So they do have a track record that NASA can look at and say, yes, they're a good choice for the job. But what have Blue Origin done? They've sent a flying penis into space with Captain Kirk on it, and that's about it. They've never done anything else, and they've been going for more than 20 years, and they've yet to get one thing into orbit. So, what is going on there? I know what I think.
Guys, I didn't realize my question was going to trigger so much emotion from you guys. Why don't we just move on, right?
Why do we do that?
Let's move on, guys. It's getting late.
This is a topic for a
It's
special
a debate
show.
that needs to be had
Yes,
because
that's a good idea, Kerry. I agree.
The American public's money and I just don't. I just hate seeing it. I mean, they're also involved in the orbital reef, aren't they, as well? That's another thing that they've...
Yeah, absolutely. And
So,
these are not the first contracts they've won for New Glenn. They've been awarded previous contracts as well. Anyway, as Kareem said, that's probably a subject for a special show all on its own. So I think we will move on at that point. And we will come over to our Canada correspondent, Kareem. And Kareem, I believe you've got another constellation tale for us, which we all look forward to. So what have you got this week?
I do. Can you share my slides?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Wonderful. So last time, 2 weeks ago, we talked about Orion or Jolpin or Wintermaker, however we want to call it. But I thought tonight we'll talk about its neighbor, the Pleiades. And we're going to talk a little bit about what the Pleiades are from different cultures and from different perspectives. And this is all a part of this idea of two-eyed seeing, which is trying to combine indigenous and ancient knowledge with what we understand from science today, from our observations of the night sky. So when we're talking about where we come from, it's important to recognize that here in Montreal, where I'm calling in from, we're on unceded lands. They're indigenous territories of the Mohawk and the Algonquin peoples. A lot of my colleagues that I work with come from the indigenous lands of the Cree, the Ojibwe, the Mi'kmaq, the Sioux, the Navajo, Iroquois. And I work with all of them. And one of the things that we try to do is to recognize the commonalities in a lot of the stories and a lot of the reasons why these different stories are told with the stars that are in the sky at that time of night and their position, their brightness, what they show us. So at the moment, we're moving into a very low moon phase. So I don't have a moon up here, but I do have Wintermaker because, as Roger mentioned, Orion is starting to come closer to the horizon, and fairly soon we're going to lose our winter constellations, hopefully, and move into spring and summer. What we're talking about today with the Pleiades, it's in the Taurus constellation. And so we know that in the coming months, we're going to see it setting earlier and earlier until we reach a point where it's in conjunction with the sun and we won't see these stars. And then they'll come out again in the pre-dawn hours in the summertime, just after the summer solstice. One of the neat things about a lot of the First Nation stories of the winter night sky is there's a lot of reverence to the Pleiades, to the hole in the sky, to the seven sisters. And you can see here from the Ojibwe, Wintermaker is stretching its arms up towards the Pleiades. So most of us know the Pleiades as the seven sisters, the seven daughters of Atlas and the water nymph Pleione. And the idea of the seven sisters being chased through the night sky by that scourge Orion that we talked about 2 weeks ago is something that comes out in a lot of different cultures. In fact, in Australia, the seven sisters are chased not by Orion, but by this wicked wizard who changes forms and who tries his best to capture these seven women. And the seven sisters are running through the territory of wherever you are in Australia. And I've talked about this before in some of the outreach talks that I've done, because when they traced through the legends in the First Nations and the indigenous peoples of Australia, what they found was that the story was almost the same, even in tribes that didn't have contact very much with other areas, other tribes from the desert versus from the coastal region. What differed was the plant life, the specific geological formations that were referred to that might have tripped up the eldest of the sisters, who then was caught by the wizard and shone less brightly, because we know now that of the seven sisters, the seven brightest stars, only 6 of them are really discernible these days, because one of them is very close to Atlas and it's hard to see and separate out in our resolution for our naked eye. As well, the animals that the wizard takes on the form of changes from location to location across Australia. So this idea of seven sisters was even something that was discussed with me during the Starmus Festival when I was in Armenia, because that's the way in which they refer to the Pleiades. They refer to it as the seven virgins running away from Orion to keep their chastity. Now, this contrasts with what we see here in North America, because in North America, we have the seven stars in different orientations referred to as seven children. We talked briefly about Atsetsusi, the Navajo version of Orion, And the fact that when Orion is setting in the springtime in the early morning, instead of being a warrior as Atsatsushi is during the fall, protecting the village through the heavy parts of winter, it takes on a planter's designation, and the bow and arrow becomes a stick that pokes into the ground. Well, the Pleiades, Deliehi, is actually known as the planting stars or the seeding stars. And it's pictured as a mother with her 6 children who shine more brightly, and the 6 children are helping her with planting the seeds. But in another story, also from the Navajo, they're known as the Flint Boys. And the Flint Boys are 7 boys who during the summertime would be out and about with the warriors and the hunters, and they'd be trying to learn the trade. But in the wintertime, you have to keep them busy, and they haven't earned the right to sit back and tell stories throughout the winter. So in the wintertime, they're doing the chores. And because they're doing the chores, they're very frustrated by their mothers staying after them, making them do all of these menial tasks. So they decide to do a dance to rise up into the stars so they can get away from these menial chores. But the mothers see this and they come running and they capture one of their legs and they manage to start to pull them down, but they still manage to escape. But one of them just isn't as bright as the others because his mother managed to catch him before he escaped fully. So one of the conversations I had with some of my colleagues in the two-eyed seeing world is, why is it that some cultures refer to this as the 7 daughters or the 7 sisters, the 7 virgins, and others refer to it specifically in terms of the male species, 7 boys. And part of the reason is because in the wintertime, when we have such harsh conditions, you don't want the boys to travel out into the wilderness, and you do want them to help out with the chores around the village. So telling the story of the boys getting in trouble and the boys being the ones who are mischievous reminds the other children that they have to stay down and help their mothers and help prepare for the planting season. Whereas especially in the Southern Hemisphere, because you're looking at the different time of year, oftentimes this is part of the betrothal season. And so you don't want these women or these young girls to fall prey to temptation, the wicked wizard that's chasing after them, or the hunter Orion who wants to ravage them. You want them to maintain their chastity so that it's for the sake of the village. And the idea was that these 2 different locations see the stars differently for this reason. And then it started to really dive into the observations of the Pleiades. And one of the wonderful stories that I found, and forgive me, the animation isn't working here, but the Andes mountain, the farmers from Peru and Bolivia, after the summer solstice, they climb up into the mountains to see the first sighting of the Pleiades in the pre-dawn hours. And what they do is they observe the Pleiades in terms of the number of stars they can observe, the relative brightness of those stars, and how far away they appear to be in terms of how vivid their brightness is. And the dimmer the stars, the less they forecast rain 6 months from then. So the later they delay their planting of potato crops, because they don't want them to waste away without enough rain for the potatoes to be harvested. And the scientists that found out about this and did an analysis of the weather patterns found that the high, thin cirrus clouds that would block or obscure the view of the Pleiades would actually be precursors of the El Nino, which would cause a lower rainfall in that region 6 months later.
Wow.
Sorry, yeah, it's phenomenal the amount of, like 400 years ago, the Andes farmers were predicting the El Nino effects.
That's amazing.
And that's just from the sighting of the Pleiades in the pre-dawn hours.
That's amazing.
It is. So the Pleiades have this spiritual aspect to them where they seem to give us a view into another world, or the world that's shining down on us and determining kind of the scale of how we live our lives and what affects us here. And that's also true for some of the First Nations here in Canada. And so the Cree, the Anishinaabe, they actually refer to the Pleiades as the hole in the sky. And this is the trickster pointing to the hole in the sky from which Star Woman first came. And Star Woman was the ancestor in the star world that first brought humans here to Turtle Island. And so often you see the Pleiades were referred to or represented by this 7-starred star blanket, the 7-pointed star blanket. And the story goes as this, and Wilfred Buck is actually the one who told me this story. He's a Cree storyteller. And Grandmother Spider was in charge of the doorways between the Star World and here on Turtle Island. And one day, Star Woman, and being of energy, looked through and saw Turtle Island and thought, I want to go and explore here. So she asked Grandmother Spider, can I go and explore? And Grandmother Spider said, you're a being of energy. In order for you to come and explore, there are 3 things that you must do. First, you must take a physical form so that you can interact with the world. You cannot go there as a being of energy. And that's why we humans, as beings of energy, became beings of matter when we're here on Turtle Island, but beings of spirit when we die and we go back into the spirit world. Secondly, you must bring a gift. And so the gift she brought was the star blanket to remind the people of Turtle Island and the animals of Turtle Island that the doorway, the hole in the sky, is there. And lastly, you cannot stay long. You must return, because your place is not on Turtle Island. Your place is here in the spirit world, which is why all humans have a finite lifespan. We can't just stay down here. So once the Star Woman agreed to all of these principles, Grandmother Spider spun a web that allowed her to come down and then spend time here and then go back up. And so this idea of the way in which we see the Pleiades matches our observations often, because when you look up towards the Pleiades and you see the other aspects of this, the arm of the Milky Way there. And if you look here at this picture, you can actually see the arm of the Milky Way kind of passing through where Grandmother Spider sits, where the trickster points to the hole in the sky, the Pleiades. You can kind of envision that thread, that strand of dark web that brought Star Woman here, brought humanity here to Turtle Island, but only for a limited time before we go back. And with that, I'll say thank you. And don't forget to use both eyes for the benefit of all. Andy, back to you.
Thank you very much, Corinne. That is really fascinating, especially the bit about El Nino.
Yes.
And we think that, you know, El Nino is a modern discovery. And how little we know, eh? It's our cultural arrogance about the past, isn't it?
Well, it's amazing, those cloud formations and the way they obscure our view. I mean, we just swear at them because the seeing is bad and we can't take photographs or whatever. But the farmers have been using these for centuries to determine exactly how to protect their village and protect their food supply.
Absolutely. Absolutely fascinating. Thanks so much, Kareem. Your stories are always so interesting and so revealing, and they
not mine, and I'm not an authentic voice, but thankfully I'm allowed to share them.
All right, the presentation of these stories we always greatly enjoy, and I hope you've got many more up your sleeve, because we do love them, and if you love them, viewers, say so in the chat, because I'm sure Kareem would love to have your support, knowing that his efforts are appreciated. We appreciate them here, of course. So if you'd like Kareem to do more, then tell us, obviously.
Thank you, everyone.
So there we are. Thank you so much for that, Kareem. And you have been sorely missed during your prolonged illness. So it's good to have your voice back. So there we are. Speaking of clouds and us swearing at clouds because we don't get good seeing, on a related note, I gather in the UK that the campaign for the preservation of rural England is mounting another star count. Can anybody talk about that?
Yeah, Andy. It starts on, I think it's the 17th, and it runs through till the, let me just find it. It runs through, it runs for a whole week. It's not too late to actually sign up. If you just log on to, Andy's just popped it up, onto the CPRE, the Countryside Charity, and you will see, well, you see there it says donation, but you can actually sign up to the star count. It's very, very simple. It's something that all the family can do, and you will actually be taking part in a citizen science project. The idea behind it is they do it every year. And once they've got all the results in, they then produce a light pollution map of the UK. And all it entails is, and as we've already mentioned, we've already spoken about it, Orion is high in the sky early in the evenings. So you can go out between sort of like 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock if you wish. And the idea is you count all the stars within the Orion asterism that you can actually see. Now, the reason they run it over the week is because we were just talking about it, clouds. You can't guarantee that you're going to have just one night of good seeing that everybody can just pop out on. So what you do is you just have a look, see what the seeing is like. If you can see the belt of Orion, the stars in the belt of Orion, then give it a go. If you can't, then they're popping out because most of the stars will be obscured, the lesser light away. But if you, like I said, if you just pop along to the Campaign to Protect Rural England, the CPRE website, once you're on there, the first thing you come to is the star count. You can log on there. They just want a couple of details, and then they will send you all the information that you need to participate. And one thing I will say is something that all the family can do, so get the children involved. In fact, they will probably be able to see more stars than the adults because over time our eyes do deteriorate. Our irises don't open so far. They're more than you. So yeah, give it a go. Just sign up for it, and we will. Then you'll be able to come back in a month or so later and see the results, and you would have actually participated in some science.
Thank you, Daz. And if you have trouble finding that page, if you just Google for CPRE star count, you'll find it immediately. And the more people that get involved counting the stars, the better, because it will, give a much better idea of how bad things are getting. Now, there was shocking news recently in an international report that says we are losing the battle for the night skies on the planet. And one thing that really shocked me, do you know what percentage of all of the major observatories in the United States are reporting worsening conditions? And the way that they define worsening is that if their night sky is 10% or more brighter than it would be without any sources of light. And do you know what percent of all the major observatories in the US said that they have got significant disruption? All of them, 100%. All of the major observatories in the US are suffering from intrusive light pollution, and that is scary. And we need to do something, but of course we can't do anything without data. So your contributions towards the star count in the UK, counting the stars in Orion, would be great. And the more data that the CPRE has, and other organisations like the International Dark Sky Association, and these pressure groups that are trying to get through to governments that something has to be done before we lose the night sky forever. So do try and get involved if you can. And the situation is getting worse. And, we all notice it. We all see that, year on year, our universe is disappearing. Very few people these days can even see the Milky Way because of the light pollution. And it's absolutely shocking. So do get involved, folks, and do look up these groups. The International Dark Sky Association, the Campaign for Dark Skies is another one. And if you can, I know everybody's busy these days, and we haven't got a lot of time, but if you can spare the time, just try and help them out in any way you can. Otherwise, we will lose the night sky, and we don't want to sit back and say, "Oh, we could have done this and we should have done that" when we had the chance, and we do have the chance now before it's too late. So, I think I've mentioned before, you can see some ridiculous things like the home-based DIY stores in the UK selling a home security light to put outside your building that was more powerful than a lighthouse, and all these ridiculous things that we could end if we just put a bit of pressure on the right people. Anyway, lecture over. So there we are. So we will come finally to somebody who's dying to show us what our readers have been sending in to the gallery this week. Ooh. And you've got a lot for us, I think, Rachel.
Yeah, quite a few. And obviously the light pollution is going to be a lot worse tomorrow with all these romantic men and women whipping out the candles, I am sure, for their
Yes.
Valentine's meal. So hopefully it'll be cloudy and no one will get into trouble.
Was that a hint for Johnny?
No chance. If it's clear, he'll be outside and I'll be eating alone, I can tell you.
Oh, I
But
can
that's
hear
fine. He can
violins
go
playing
get me
already.
data. I'm happy with that. Data is my gift. So, so yeah. So this week we've got a real mix again, as always. And we're straight in with Chris O'Riordan, and he sent a picture of the flaming star and tadpoles, and he said this takes him back to his early days of diving into the astro rabbit hole before astrocams and narrowband, and this was his favourite image of the time. So it's a 3-hour integration using a Canon 600D and an L-enhanced filter.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
That's
That's
good.
good.
Really nice.
we like that.
Lovely,
Really
Chris.
good. And I think both of these targets are in Auriga, I want to say.
Yes.
Thank you, Roger. The lovely, lovely image, Chris.
Mm.
Don't make me laugh. I'm too snuffly tonight for laughing. I'll start snorting and all sorts. We've got a lovely image of star trails from Mary. And actually, this shows the comet as well. So if you look, obviously, where she's signposted,
Oh, yes.
you've actually got the comet in there, which is really cool.
The green comet.
The green
Yeah,
comet.
you can obviously see the green.
Very green there.
Very green.
Mm.
Then we've got one by Jerry. We've got the California Nebula, which is another one I've never done yet. It's on the list, but loads of detail in this one. So
That's
nice
lovely.
and
Look at
nice
that.
and red for Valentine's Day, Jerry.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
I like the reds.
Yeah,
also.
very apt for Valentine's Day. That's lovely.
It is, yeah. Very nice. And another one by Jerry again, the Flaming Star, which we saw in Chris's first image, but this time not in just red, which is pretty nice.
That's lovely. It's a lovely palette, isn't it? I like
It is,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get that blue in the center as well.
Yeah.
It looks three-dimensional. It looks like it's rippling out.
It does,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think some nebulas really lend themselves to that 3D look, and this is one of them, isn't it? That really, you
Yeah.
feel like you can feel the structure just by looking.
Yeah.
I kind of
And you
want to
can
make
see the-
two versions of this and then use 3D glasses to really make it pop.
You can see the stars embedded as well. That's brilliant.
Yeah. Then this one is I think a Mare Imbrium, but I think there's an R missing out of
Yes.
there.
Correct.
By Kev. By Kev. And it's
New
not the
seed
sun.
discovered on the moon.
And this is a 2-panel mosaic. And this is Kev's favourite part of the moon.
Is it really, Kev? Gosh. Oh, I see why. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in there, isn't it? Look at the mountains, though. And look how 3D they look.
Yeah.
They
Really
look
nice.
Great. Nice
And of
lighting
course,
there. Well captured.
that's where Peregrine's going, isn't it?
That's right. That's where Peregrine is now going.
Beautiful. Then we're jumping over to the Archimedes crater, which was sketched at one of Mary's workshops by Lee. And he said his dad said they were allowed to send them in, so he did. Yes, it's all right, Lee. You're welcome to send it in. And obviously this has inspired him to try more. So this is Lee's lovely sketch.
Well done, Lee. A great sketch.
I think they were
That's
all
good,
so
Lee.
good though, from the montage. They were all really good.
Yeah. They were all very good. You can't choose
like
between
that.
them, really. But
It's very nice.
good effort. Very good effort.
It is very nicely. Then we've got another one by Chris, which is obviously the Cygnus Wall. And this is part of the North American Nebula, and it's a 3-hour integration using a 1-shot color camera and the L-Extreme dual band filter. So he separated the channels for this one to create a Hubble palette look. Which is really nice. I do like the golds and blues.
Yeah. Very good.
That's lovely. Beautiful.
A lot of drama in this one.
Yeah.
Really nice. Then we've got another one by Jerry. I think this is just like the Chris and Chris and Jerry show. I think we need a segment for them.
And why
The
not?
Pac-Man Nebula in CAS. And again, this is using the Extreme filter and edited on PixInsight and Photoshop.
Ooh, gosh.
Oh,
Lots
wow.
of star color as well in this one.
Mm.
Lots
That's
of reds and
fantastic.
blues.
Look at that. That's
It's another one that gives you the feeling of a 3D object, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a little lagoon. Thank you, Jerry.
Mhm.
Then there's some sketch by some guy that we don't know, but we let them put it in
Oh, God.
anyway.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is Roger's Archimedes sketch. Do you want to talk about it, Roger?
That looks like we're looking down on a particularly strong cup of coffee on a saucer.
Absolutely. Well, what do you expect after 50 years?
I think
I
that's
think
great.
It's a
I
really
think that's
lovely shot.
great.
When you see it properly, it's really
Yeah.
nice.
That's brilliant, Roger.
Mm,
You
It's
didn't know
okay.
you had it in you, be honest. You didn't know
I
you
didn't
could
know
do
I
it.
had it in me either.
No.
No, it's really lovely. I think it's
Well,
mad how you can get so many different textures on, a flat surface, but it looks so. There's so many different layers.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I am very snuffly, Andy. I mean, I'm naturally nasally anyway, so when I get a cold, it's even worse. Well,
It
okay, we try
wasn't
and
too
teach
bad
comics
after
when I've
1
got a
hour.
blocked
That was
nose.
only an hour's worth of drawing, so it wasn't too bad.
It's very good, and I'm sure you'll keep going now. You've had the sketching bug.
We'll see.
We might have to ask Roger sketches of the night sky as a segment.
Yeah. Well done, Roger. That's great. Wish I could do that.
Then we've got another entry by Lee, this time the comet. And he said this was a real bugger to process and totally different to the DSO ones. And obviously it was taken during a full moon. So there was lots of challenges and battles there. But really nice.
Wow, that is really nice.
That's a great one there, Lee.
That's great.
Very nice.
A real bugger to process. Is that a proper Photoshop termination? Is it?
Yeah.
I think it is, yeah. I think it's Cornwall's version.
That's really good.
Very good, thank you, Lee. Then we've got one from Amber, and this is the moon and Jupiter peeking through some spooky clouds. And this was just taken on a Samsung Galaxy S21 Plus.
Any relation to you, Dad?
Yeah, my daughter. Yeah, very talented. You can see where she gets it from.
Yeah.
Which is really spooky.
It's very
That is really
atmospheric.
spooky. Yeah.
She was more fascinated with the formation of the clouds, and I was hoping Mary would be in to explain exactly what they are, because Mary's good on the clouds and the atmospheric stuff. So we'll ask her again some other time. But it's a very atmospheric shot. It really is.
It is.
It's a good start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really good. And then I think this is the last one by Kev again. So this is the Pleiades and the UGC 2838 Galaxy, which he has pointed out, because I know somebody asked on Twitter where it was, and he did say it was on the Tiny Edge on Galaxy, which I've now lost, but you can't see my cursor anyway. Oh, there it is. I can see it, but I know I can't show you where it is. But really nice. Like, we've really struggled with this one. Again, we've never taken a good image of the Pleiades, so it's on the list.
This is an incredible image of the Pleiades,
isn't it?
So
the
like
fibrousness is
the
just
structure is so crisp and wispy, which is a technical.
Yes, I can see the Edge on Galaxy there.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I can see it. I just don't know how to describe where it is. But yeah, so really nice. Thank you, Kev.
Kev, that's amazing. The nebulosity there is astonishing.
And we have to congratulate Kev, from what I can gather from the chat. He's had an image published in Sky at Night this month. So.
Well done, Kev.
I've not got my copy yet. I can't see what it is, but it's not the sun. That's what I do know. But he might be able to tell us in the chat which one it is.
Well done, Kev. Congratulations to everybody. I mean, week on week we say it and say it, but we'll never cease to be amazed at how good your images are, and we're very grateful to you for sending them in to us. And we do love looking at them, and you're very talented. That's all I've got to say. So keep them coming in. Rachel has posted the details in the chat if you'd like to send us your images to be shown in the weekly gallery. And there we are. And before we go any further, of course, we should say hello to all the people on Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, hello. If you're watching on the Astronomy Ireland Facebook page, hello in Ireland, and hello to Anne and Mick and Susan and everybody in Ireland. If you're watching, hope you're all okay. And that just about brings us to the end of this evening's show, believe it or not. So Kev says it was photo of the month, I believe, in the sky.
It was the moon.
So there we are. Oh, it was a moon. Right. Okay.
A moon.
We'd like to thank you all for joining us. Thank you very much. We will be back, of course, next Monday. Do keep an eye on the Facebook page, though, where we make announcements about things that are coming up. Because last week, when we covered the static fire of the super heavy booster at Boca Chica, it was all a bit impromptu because we didn't know exactly when it was going to happen. So we had to put it together rather quickly. So we made sort of do spontaneous things like that. So keep an eye on the Facebook page. You can find us at facebook.com/Space Oddities. And we'll keep you posted about developments there. Obviously, keep your eye on the channel. Also, don't forget that we have other videos on our channel apart from this weekly live stream that we do. Daz and I have been preparing and uploading some of our old programs from our Astro Radio days. In particular, we've been uploading the Amazing Astronomical Alphabet, which was a radio program that Daz and I did, which was amazing fun to do. And we've got all sorts of other goodies on there for you, with more to come. So thank you everybody for being with us. We do appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'd like to say thank you again to Rother Valley Optics for supporting us in what we do. Yes, Daz.
Yeah, I was just saying, you just mentioned Rother Valley Optics. Be sure to watch in next week because we'll be announcing our next call.
Oh, that's right. We'll be announcing the February's competition next week. We are going to have a competition.
Yeah, sorry.
We are going to have a competition in February where you can win a lovely prize. In fact, this month, 2 lovely prizes, and we'll be giving you the details of that competition next week when we've worked out what they are. So do tune in again next week, and you'll find out how you can win some lovely prizes this month. And we hope that you will enter. Okay, I think that's it from everybody. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week on Space Oddities Live. Until then, have a fantastic week. Take care of each other. So from all the panel and myself, we'll say good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.